This is a world champion, a world record holder, a gold medalist, the world's best. It's no Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson controversy. It's I own it, baby. LaShawn Merritt, welcome to Celebrity Entrepreneur.
I was in a space where I was lost. I've been coached all my life. Then I got out into the world where I didn't have a coach and everybody wanted something from me. All the things that made me who I am and who I was in the sport, I realized that translates into life.
What's one of the most effective ways that you found that you have to get through and truly motivate kids?
Through my story and being able to relate to them, I inspire them. Like if you want to be me and I'm on my trajectory to be a champion in life, these are the daily habits. Now we start to talk to entrepreneurs and business leaders on what was my daily habit like, my discipline to become a champion.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Celebrity Entrepreneur Show with the incredible, always changing, growing, and expanding James Maslow. What's going on, my little brother?
What's up, my guy? And he means that literally. Your boy is up almost 20 pounds on the gain train right now.
And that's muscle. And we'll get a guest on that will tell you the meaning of that muscle because he is a multi-gold medal winner. And that's not just Olympic gold medal, world championships. But we're going to talk about a different type of medal beyond that. And it's the medal that you have and many entrepreneurs have, the medal of consistency and persistent behavior that it takes to be the world's best. You know, I work really hard to be the best that I can be, but I have to tell you that it's extremely subjective whether or not you're the world's best at something. And I will tell you humbly, I don't believe I'm the world's best at anything, but I have been blessed to be around the world's best, unequivocally the world's best. And that easiest moniker is given by a gold medal at the Olympics. When you own a world record and you're the world's best and you have an Olympic gold medal, it's very objective that you can say you're the world's best to receive that medal. But I'm really interested, James, in the medal that it takes to get that type of medal. And so for you, I'd love to understand the medal side, not the gold medal, but the medal that it takes to be one of the world's best at what you do, which I hope I'm in that league as well at what I do. But there's a certain type of medal. What does that mean to you? And what is that medal for you that's gotten you to the top of your profession?
Well, you just said that you surround yourself with the best. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. You know, that's why I gravitated towards you and why we've become friends, because I get an enormous amount of value, not only just being around you and the many conversations we've had and continue to have, but being around your circle. And that goes back to just the oldest, adage in the book, which is you become the 5 people you surround yourself with, you spend the most amount of time with. And I think that that is absolutely true. So like you, I don't consider myself the best at anything, but I'm humble enough to continue to want to grow, to continue to want to learn and get better every day. And that's all any of us can do. And I keep trying to do it. But I want to throw a quick question back to you before we invite on our guest. It's getting a little bit easier now that I'm approaching my mid-30s, but it's always been a little bit tough and even at times discouraging being that person that says no to a lot of the seemingly fun opportunities, the going out, the drinking. I'm not saying I've never done any of it. I've certainly done my fair share, but I've continued to say no to it more and more, continue to say yes to my own goals, personal, business, health, relationships. But even now, it's not always easy. I had a bunch of friends staying with me this week, and they went out last night and I was still in my studio and I had meetings and I had to finish a song. And, I had a little bit of that FOMO, which I don't get that often. My question to you is, does it get easier as you get older to say no to those opportunities and not feel so bad about it and say yes to yourself and feel good about it?
Yeah, so it does get easier if you make it a practice to change the FOMO into what I call JOMO. And you started to articulate the JOMO when you were like prioritizing things that are important to you, the non-negotiables and negotiables according to the circumstances, your friends being in town, that you will not be able to make it easier on yourself to tell people no unless you can focus your intention on the JOMO, the joy of missing out. And I had a friend come for dinner last night, and he was going out. We've known each other since our childhood. He's a couple years older than I am, and he doesn't live here. So he was going out that night, and he invited me to go out for probably 2 or 3 different stops, which would include me having to say no to drinking and also staying up late because I have an unwinding routine. And so I said no, but could you come to my house for dinner at 5:15? I'll have you out of here by 6:30 when normal people have dinner, and maybe eat dinner with me if you like my food, or just come spend time while I eat, and then figure out what you're going to do the rest of the night. So I said no to part of the night, but I enjoyed or said yes to being with him and really getting what I wanted out of it. And so I believe that if you practice JOMO, that it gets easier not to have FOMO and to say no. And so it's really a practice. And there's also JOPO, which is even bigger than the JOMO. And JOPO is the joy of other people's opinion. See, FOPO will stop you from getting to where you want to be. The fear of other people's opinion. In the public light, like you, James Maslow, and also our next guest coming on, that you have to learn the JOMO and the JOPO to get to where you want to be or better, and enjoy that pursuit of your own potential and feel comfortable in pursuing what you like, not necessarily what other people like.
I like JOPO. I have started to embrace JOPO these last couple of years. The more that I've branched off, done new things, created new businesses, and even, to some degree, a new image that people weren't used to seeing me as. And a lot of people don't like change, and then they hate on it. And instead of being afraid of it or being upset by that negativity or the other opinions that aren't always in line with where I hope they are, I have learned to love them and learn to really, really, truly and genuinely appreciate the ones that go, hey, we actually love where you're going because it's so authentic. Why would they say that if it weren't true? And even utilize the negative ones, the ones that go out of their day and spend time to tell me how irrelevant I am. It makes me smile so much when the negative ones come in as well, because I simply choose to enjoy all of it because I'm going to do what I'm going to do regardless of it.
Yeah, let me tell you about the unsubscribe philosophy that I've developed, and then we're going to bring LaShawn on and ask him about the FOMO and FOPO and the JOMO and JOPO option of imagine how much, when you're the world's best at something, unequivocally, objectively, holding a gold medal in world records and world championships. But for me, here's the unsubscribe. My media guys were getting on me because we invite a lot of people to a lot of things. We have a newsletter. So we're in constant contact with the hundreds of thousands of people in my database. And we get a lot of unsubscribes, by the way.
Sure.
And I believe that, I want to get to where Donald Trump is. I want to get to 50% of the people unsubscribe me, because that means 50% of the people love me. Yeah. And that's much more valuable than where I'm at right now. By the way, 5% of the people are unsubscribing me, because to me, that says about 5% of the people in my database, they love me. They live for me. And I'd much rather, and look, this is the relativity. So I want people to subscribe to the unsubscribed and allow yourself to say, not everybody's for me, not everybody's with me, not everybody agrees with me, I'm not the flavor of the day. Remember, the most popular flavor of ice cream is vanilla. People aren't passionate about it, though. They're passionate
vanilla
about
bean, though, I'll fight for. I'll fight
monkey.
For the bean. It tastes different. It hits harder. I got to be honest, right? What you're saying, the recap, is that you're never going to be liked by everyone. Our parents told us this when we were kids, right? And so you're really, truly embracing, you know what? I actually want to be liked and loved so much by a small percentage, or 50%, that I might even be hated by the other half. And I actually love that, because I think that is more true in today's day and age than it ever has been.
Yeah, because you have access to that entire total addressable communities in the billions, not just you live in Nashville, Tennessee, 300,000 people. You have to be a little bit more careful on what your opinion is because you might end up not having anybody like you just by statistics, instead of, there'll be equal amount of people that love you or hate you. And it's the unsubscribed that we want to pay attention to. Let's bring our boy on, man. This is a world champion, a world record holder, a gold medalist, multi-times. Imagine we are blessed to be with one of the world's best, and he knows it unequivocally. It's no Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson controversy. It's I own it, baby. I'm the best in the world. LaShawn Merritt, welcome to Celebrity Entrepreneur
Welcome
Show.
to the show.
Uncle Dave, thank you for having me. Mr. James, it's a pleasure.
Absolute pleasure.
All right, let's start where we left off. You had to have the fear of missing out for the amount of hours in attention and intention that it took to be the world's best. And, how did you develop that muscle, what I call the JOMO, the joy of missing out, when I guarantee all your friends were having a much better time when you were practicing every day?
Absolutely. You know what? I turned pro at 18. So at 18, everybody was doing everything. We had just got into a space in our lives of being able to do things, go to parties, some people drinking, having fun, experiencing those years. And I didn't. And that was okay with me. I found love in that process of being on a path to greatness. I had great family around me. I come from unconditional love. I found fun and love in the process, and I knew I was on my way to something great. I still have a lot of friends, luckily, that I had when I was 18 years old. I'm 38 now. Only two, but those are the two that love me, respect me, and always wanted the best for me.
Wow. I think that's something actually to touch on there. 20 years. And, when you're younger, you think about your childhood friends, but 20 years later, you only have two that have remained your friends. But I think that that's beautiful. And I think that is beyond normal and sometimes hard to impart on younger people. Myself, even 5 or 10 years ago, you say, hey, you're not going to be friends with all of your friends when you're older. And that's not only okay, that's good, because you're going to grow in different directions. And I think it's really, really important to maintain that you're going to continue to grow in your path, regardless of where other people go. Don't let them detract and pull you away from your goals. So what is it about those couple of friends? Why have you guys remained friends over the last 20 years?
When I was in middle school, both of them, I've been friends since elementary, middle school. We grew up together. When we were younger, before I had anything, before I was LaShawn, the Machine Merritt, I played with them. We laughed together. We got hurt together. We even fought each other to learn how to fight. That's how close of friends we are. Not to hurt each other, but to learn. And we may be in different spaces and places in life, and we may even vibrate on a different frequency, but I'm able to respect where they are, they respect where I am. And it's that unconditional love. You probably only come around a certain amount of people in your life. And some people don't even understand unconditional love, but I have a mom and a dad who love me regardless. And these two friends, out of all the things I've been through, they've still been there. They've helped me along the way when they've had nothing. So I love them to death.
Let me shift gears a little bit, LaShawn, not quite to the gear of the speed that you run, but a different gear. One of the things I've seen, I've been blessed to work with the greatest athletes of all time, like you. And one of the difficulties of having that JOMO at such a young age, being able to follow your dream and have non-negotiable behaviors, regardless of what our friends are doing, how much fun it looks like that they're having, or how much money it looks like they're making, all the things that happen. And all of a sudden, one day, all of that work, all of those behaviors stop because you are done playing football, baseball, basketball, hockey, running the 400. And you suffer what I call your first death.
Right.
And it's the closest I can imagine, is I've witnessed it from my own career in college football to play football from the time I was 7 to 22. I felt like there was a death, at least in my family, when I could not play football anymore. I had witnessed it with Warren Moon, who played till he was 44 years old. Steve Young, Troy Aikman. I witnessed it with Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield with boxing. And all of us suffered from that death. How have you been able to grieve or process the first death that you experienced when everyone else not only look, when you're a person in your family dies, people are sympathetic and empathetic. Right. Nobody is empathetic and sympathetic in this type of death because they all see you as the gold medalist, the world champion, as Steve Young, Troy Aikman, Warren Moon, Lennox Lewis. They see you like that. So there's no empathy for you at all. It's only, shit, he has everything. He's LaShawn, the Machine Merritt. How did you deal with your first death?
That's a great question. Mentally, physically, emotionally, from the sport, I've hurt. In training, there's times where, if you gave me, I don't know how much money, I couldn't stand up and run to you. I built up that much lactic acid. So I know what death in the body, for my body, I can't move, kind of feels like. And I had to take everything from the sport into that moment after I retired to get through that. The biggest thing was purpose. That daily, I was so used to a routine of bringing my best self and accountability and purpose day to day, and I didn't have that, and it was hard. And I struggled for a while, and then I really seeked out people who respected what I did in that field and let me know, hey, this is who you are. And I had to remind myself of, yeah, that is who I am, but I did a lot to become that person, and that's a lot mentally. I remember how important it was to ask for help. That's the number one thing. I was in a space where I was lost. I've been coached all my life. Ever since I was younger, every sport I've been coached. Then I got out into the world where I didn't have a coach, and everybody wanted something from me, or I had the ability to do certain things because of my accolades in the sport. I had to really tap into what made me a champion, who I was, the Merritt mindset, those hard days, those times where I had to shine, the days where I had to really bring a certain type of shine to the grind because I was the best in the world. And I'm still going through that a little bit. It was an identity crisis. It was a lack of purpose. I don't have wife and kids, so I didn't really know what to pour into. I have a big need and a desire, and I have a space in my heart to pour back into young people. My mom's a teacher. I understand the importance of the messenger. I talk to a lot of young people. I understand this message, and this message of accountability, discipline, all the things that made me who I am and who I was in the sport. From ear to ear, I realized that translates into life. So I push those messages, and I'm still dealing with a lot right now as far as what I like in life. But as far as what made me who I am, I know that formula, and that formula can transform lives.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting as an Olympic gold medalist, you transform yourself from a messenger to actually being the message, and understanding that is a transition and a transformation. James, you've experienced this in your own career. I'm sure every time you come home from the road, there's a mini death after standing in front of stadiums full of people. Being by yourself in Nashville in a studio must feel as if there's something missing.
Sure. And I even took a 8-year hiatus from the band. There really was a moment where the band was over. There was a huge death in my life from what I'd been doing for 7 years straight between filming the TV show and touring and filming and touring. We had literally no days off for years at a time. And for that to stop, there was that momentary relief of like, oh, this is exciting. And I get to figure out who I am and what I want to do. And then quickly followed by an enormous amount of fear of like, oh, shit, what do I do? It all sounded great, but it's not exactly as easy as one might have said, like, oh, you're gonna go and just get the next series or the next movie or do your own music and be Justin Timberlake. Having said that, I'm so grateful that we did take that time. We took 8 years and I went and did a bunch of independent films, a couple of studio films. I did write my own album. I did tour, mind you, smaller venues than arenas and what we were doing before. But that life experience, I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. I had more fun. One of my best friends in the world, Jordan Greenwald, who is now a huge musician in Lovely the Band, was my guitarist on a teeny tiny little run I did for solo James Mazzo music in Europe and Mexico and parts of South America. It was just him and I on stage. We had one tour manager and a driver in a Sprinter van. Mind you, going from, 10 buses, 10 trucks, like pretty sizable touring with BTR, which we are grateful that I do as well again today. But I say all this with the biggest grin you'll ever see me have because I wouldn't trade those months and years for anything. And I'll say the same thing about the other guys. They went out and did their own thing. Some of them started families and have kids now. And some other one, developed their own businesses. And we all came back together so much stronger because of it. So I think it's important to acknowledge that, we will have multiple deaths in our lives. But as scary as they are, they're going to provide an opportunity to reinvent, to figure out what you like, what you want to do next. And I think that is so exciting because one of the scariest things to me as a kid was doing the same thing day in, day out for the rest of my life. I used to imagine sitting in a cubicle and that was my job. And I said, nope, you can't pay me enough money to do that. So, on that note, LaShawn, I was curious. We were chatting for just a second before this came on. You're talking about how you do motivate and educate and educating and motivating the youth, as you put it, is one of your big passions. What's one of the most effective ways that you found that you have to get through? Because I do a fair amount of talking and motivating, especially to young adults. My fan base is like college and just above. And sometimes I feel like, oh, they totally heard what I said. And other times I'll speak to a room and I'll even have people come up and say, hey, that's great, but I don't think it applies to me. And it's not always easy. How have you found you can cut through and truly motivate kids?
For me, it's a more of inspiration because of who I am and what I've done. The respect that's there. I've never been the type of person that needed to be hyped. So to like, okay, this is what this is what we're doing. Through my story and being able to relate to them, I inspire them. I let them know the real of the real. Like if you want to be me and I'm still learning and I'm on my trajectory to be a champion in life, these are the daily habits. This is the vibration you need to be on. Now we start to talk to entrepreneurs and business leaders on what was my daily habit like, my accountability, my discipline to become a champion. And luckily, I've had the opportunity to come in with a gold medal and demand the respect. And like I said, sometimes it's the messenger.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
David, how do you find? Because you speak to people. You got me into wanting to speak to people, watching you completely captivate rooms of thousands of people. You have a way about you, but how did you develop that, right? Like, where did that start where you recognize an ability within yourself to motivate?
I'm very particular in teaching people what I experienced and what I've learned far beyond the speaking that I've done for so many years is that it's the stories that you tell and the lessons that you're teaching. And so I become a student of what resonates with me because that which resonates with me, meaning the lessons that I feel strongly about, that I agree with, and even later on in life, the lessons that I feel strongly against. I don't agree with them at all. And doing the research and having a system to capture the lessons that are aligned with my frequency, which is illustrated by the resonance of my inner energy, my frequency. So if I agree with something, like I heard, and I think maybe one of you guys was with me when I heard it, someone said, my mom told me you're either humble or you're about to be. And when I heard that, it went to my core. And I immediately texted myself, you're either humble or you're about to be. And then it went right into my capture folder. And then on Sundays, I review those. And I went ahead and created a story around, you're either humble or you're about to be. And so for me, what I teach and what I practice is I want to make sure, one, the lessons that I talk about are mine, meaning they represent me and the frequency is me, not just the idea. And so then beyond that, I practice telling stories so that more people will listen to the lesson because it's more entertaining, and I hit more emotions because people buy on emotion for logical reason and they remember the way they feel. They don't remember what you said at all. And so the combination of frequency and making people feel a certain way by telling the story in a certain way allows me to build a bigger and bigger community of people that want to come and learn those lessons. The other lesson about the lessons that I've learned is not only just capture which resonates with you, but you need to be annoying with your lessons. And I think I've shared this with both of you before, right? Annoying means what? Repetitive and honest. Nobody likes someone to repeat themselves, and nobody likes honesty, especially with themselves. And it hit me in your space, James, because I pay a lot of money every year to go see the Rolling Stones. And you talked about, Mick Jagger, what he must feel like, because ever since he was a kid, he's been playing Satisfaction. The same thing, the same song, dancing almost the same way. And he is old, bro. I mean, he makes me look like a spring chicken. And he's probably has more energy than all three of us still. And he's a world record holder. But more importantly, I would be disappointed if he didn't sing Satisfaction.
Right. Who wouldn't be?
And you have to realize when you're speaking, people are disappointed if you don't tell the jacket story if you're David Meltzer, or you don't tell about your mom when you lost everything and you lost her house, or you don't tell them about being more interested than interesting. And you have to realize that it's about the lessons and the stories that make a great speaker. And it takes a lot of practice, And, all of us practice speaking every day. The reason I do these shows is it helped me practice speaking.
Okay.
So that's what I have on that. We got to bring it home here, James. I'm going to count on you to give us the final question and nugget to ponder over a week until we get together again.
Wow. Well, this is Celebrity Entrepreneur. So from the entrepreneurial side, the business side, just finishing rereading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is one of the ones that you suggest I read every year, and I'm taking your advice and rereading it every year. And one question that he poses is just simply, where are the opportunities? So that's been going through my head in terms of investments, in terms of how do we grow ourselves, but also grow our wealth, from a financial perspective. So I don't know if there's any nuggets somebody wants to throw in, but as I was sitting down with my team in the real estate space today, and we're thinking about acquiring, another rental property, I took a pause and was like, but that's been done, right? The property we're going to buy was purchased 30 years ago for 7 cents. And the upside, the equity growth has already happened there. So I'm like, is this really the smartest play? And then we started thinking about buying entire, portfolios, buying somebody's entire rental business. Instead of buying one house, buy 40 or 50 and get a much better deal on all of them. So I'll pose the question in either of your worlds, if you want to just answer something interesting, but where is an opportunity right now that maybe most people aren't thinking about?
Wow. So let me tell you the methodology, because there's a lot of them today, and it stems from people's expectation in blockchain and AI. And so people overinvest in an idea, and thereby elevates opportunity. So when there's a new hyped up thing like blockchain and AI, you want to be and understand how in history have we marginalized or created profit from the internet when it was new, from the electric car when it was new. You know how? From picks and axes. You got to be in that business. So where the opportunity always lies for me is take the overhyped, super competitive industry, career, job, or space and learn, because overhyped means people are going to be buying all into it. Learn where the picks and the axes are that you're going to be able to monetize and you're not going to care who wins the race. You're not going to care who makes money and who loses money, because everyone's going to need to use your pick in order to use AI, or your axe in order to use blockchain. And so I'm investing in picks and axes of the overhyped industry careers and jobs. And I have been since 1992 with the internet, and it served me extremely well.
It's back to boring businesses, huh?
Yeah. Well, look, like roll up electricians, plumbers. There's a huge opportunity if you understand AI and blockchain and point of sale that, there's plumbers in New York City that 80 years literally have owned a business, a multi-million-dollar business, but haven't implemented any AI or any technology. Imagine buying 5 of those businesses and putting those people to retirement and they're happy, and then 10 times the revenue because they have no technology implemented.
Yeah. I love it. Optimizing, buying businesses and optimizing. I think that's actually something really, really smart. Anybody listening should pay attention to. It's what I'm learning and asking a million questions about, because starting your own business is really, really, really tough. And there's a lot of smart people who have started businesses and they just don't want to run them anymore, or they're retiring, like David said. So I love that. Well, I know I was supposed to have the last word, but LaShawn, do you want to send us off with any last bits of advice?
Just advice about anything.
Anything at all.
I tell people a lot about what my Uncle Dave tells people. Be more interested than more interesting. Be kind to your future self and do good deeds.
Amazing.
You're empowering others. That's what I live for, is people like LaShawn Merritt, the machine. Thank you for acknowledging the words of wisdom and the faith that I try to instill in people like you and James Maslow, and just the fact that you took the time, both of you, to be a part of Celebrity Entrepreneur Show and to do this with us. I hope to see you both in person. I'll be swinging by there before the Super Bowl, maybe at the Super Bowl. You're always invited, not obligated. God bless both of you, and anything I can do to be of service or value to either of you, all you got to do is ask.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. LaShawn, thank you for your time. David, it's always a pleasure, man.
Thank you, James. Awesome. Thank you, Uncle Dave.